Hey, welcome. We are back with another episode of the Tech Behind FinTech. Thank you for joining me. I'm your host, Nnamdi Osuagwu, where we talk about the technology behind the money. We're streaming live from Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitch, and YouTube. Let's get some housekeeping things in order, and then we will kick off today's show. It is always great to be here. As always, feel free to drop a comment, have a question, have some insight that you would like to share. Drop a comment, and then we will post it on the channel as well. Oh, McKay just joined from Instagram. Thanks for joining, sis. Appreciate you. Okay, without further ado, let's hop into some news of the week. So before we continue, today's episode is sponsored by Strategic Generation, providing cybersecurity services and to the fintech industry, and also SOC 2 compliance services. Next, November 4th is our 100th episode. So we're going to do a panel. That episode is going to be huge. Definitely, we will send updates in the following weeks that we move forward with. November 4th, 100th episode. We are so stoked for that, and it's going to be major. So, and then before that, we'll have some guests as well, and as we always do. So without further ado, let's jump into the news of the week. Okay, let me just get everything situated in a second. We will jump into the news of the week. I'm adding the stream. Okay, cool. Another housekeeping, guys. If you're on Instagram, definitely thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you. If you want to see some of the slides that we put up, go to our techbehindfintech.com site. There should be some YouTube links there in which you can watch it live from the show. If you have comments, feel free to drop it in, and we will proceed. So first article of the day, Nymbus and St. Louis Bank partner to launch banking service for lawyers. So it's not the first time we talked about this particular company and what they're doing. They essentially launch banking solutions for niche industries. And in this case, working with community banks and various other banks to just launch these services specifically for niche verticals. So Florida St. Louis Bank has entered a strategic partnership with Nymbus to launch a new digital financial brand and banking services for the legal community, focusing on small and mid-sized law firms and other members of the legal community in the U.S. Midwest and beyond. The two firms aim to offer an end-to-end solution that includes onboarding, core, mobile, and online banking, as well as marketing and operational support via Nymbus launch offering. So headquartered in St. Louis, Missouri, St. Louis Bank is a community bank with nearly $750 million in assets under management, AUM, catering to SMEs, along with serving a number of attorneys. So Nymbus provides banking technology solutions to banks and credit unions. So previously, it partnered with Citizen Bank of Edmond to launch a niche bank for the U.S. military. We talked about that in a previous episode a few months back. So let's move on to the next topic. Today's going to be a quick show, actually. Next article we found interesting. Kotak Mahindra Bank taps Finastra for integrated corporate banking solutions. Okay, so Kotak Mahindra Bank is a bank in India. It's powered by Kotak FYN, its new integrated corporate banking portal. So both Finastra and Kotak, they have been working together since 2021, and they leverage Finastra's unified corporate portal solution. The portal currently allows the bank customers to carry out all kinds of trade services. By the end of this year, Kotak FIN will see additional services being launched, including account services, payments, and collections, eliminating the need for multiple logins in disparate user interfaces. So it's a consolidation effort. They're saying that we provide intuitive, easy to use access to many products and user journeys through a single platform, reducing complexity and friction for our customers and providing a truly differentiated user experience. So we'll get into Finastra's solution helps banks build a seamless experience for their corporate clients, spanning account services, payments, trades, supply chain finance, and lending. Banks can unify data across portals and systems to create a single view of transactions, positions, and balances. So that's that article. So this one found extremely interesting and kind of the way things are going. So the UK government, they introduced a bill to digitize trade documents, potentially trace using the blockchain. So members of the United Kingdom's House of Lords have introduced legislation aimed at eliminating the need for paper trade documents, increasing the likelihood of using blockchain technology to trace records. In an October 12th announcement, MP Michelle Dolan and the UK Department for Digital Culture, Media and Sports said the electronic trades document bill had been introduced in Parliament. The legislation proposed removing needless paperwork and bureaucracy by making digital documentation legally recognized for trade. What does all this mean? So look, an interesting stat. So the bill will reduce carbon emissions related to documentation by at least 10% and cut down processing time. The UK has roughly 28.5 billion, that's billion with a B, paper trade documents on a daily basis. If approved, the legislation would allow businesses to provide electronic versions of the documents, including promissory notes, warehouse receipts, cargo insurance certificates, and delivery orders from ships. Look, it's an interesting tweet, and I'll get into some commentary. So this is a tweet from Chris Southern Worth. He said, "Thank you for the support of the bill. It is a stellar piece of work by the DCMS and a game-changing piece of legislation. There is a huge international following from all corners of the globe watching very closely. Of course there is. I mean, think about it. How much paper documents in terms of governments and bureaucracy that we go through, just internationally speaking. You could produce traceable records on an immutable technology like the blockchain. They'll be there. Like I especially when I think about, property ownership in other countries that may not have as many sophisticated infrastructures so you can keep track of it for generations. But let's say that you have a deed, especially if it's in another region, right? It's on a blockchain. It's immutable. It's always there. You can see it, and there's no dispute over who owns what. And you see that a lot. Not necessarily a lot in America from doing real estate, but have seen situations looking at international real estate, especially if you're just doing land and property land, who owns this, and is somebody encumbering on your land and so forth. So I've been a huge fan of the idea of putting such records on the blockchain for a while, just because, it makes sense. It makes sense. So seeing an actual government in the Western world introducing a bill to do that, I think if it works out with them, you can definitely see that happening throughout other governments. So they really interesting. Also interesting in the blockchain they would use for that, which technology they would use for that. So I have to investigate that further, but very interesting stuff. Okay. So this was interesting. BNB Paribas it's currently a financial conference going on called Sibos 2022. Really interesting video in terms of interview. So they're launching their digital asset service business. So the idea behind that is the tokenization of real world assets. It's interesting. So we're going to have a show on it soon. We touched based on it in a previous episode with Chigozie Iwu talking about what our DeFi is doing. But it's really good to drill down. So the head of digital assets, Wayne Hughes, was discussing with the reporter there, Alex Pugh. So they're interested in the tokenization of real. Think about real assets. What are real assets? So we look at instruments like bonds, like just different things. They were talking about fund shares. Real estate came up, but he admittedly said it's very early for real estate. There's obviously a lot of paperwork and just dealing with different municipalities and different things of that nature in terms of real estate. But what about digital bonds? And the idea, something they said in an interview that really kind of stuck out with me. He said, currently assets are passive, but when you embed, when you tokenize it, you're going to use some sort of smart contract technology. And we use a smart contract that's programmatical. You could program it. So now you can actually put action in those assets. So it's a plethora of use cases that can be explored. Admittedly so, BNB Paribas is totally new to the space. They have a lot of legacy applications that need to be plugged in. So they're going to be looking for specialized fintechs in that particular vertical that they would work with to start integrating their legacy applications. And so it's early. It's totally early. Early, not early for them, but it's early in the industry as well. I mean, we think about physical assets. A lot of people are experimenting with it in terms of that direction, but having it done, I reference a lot of real estate because I do some real estate on the side. I've been doing it for a while, in addition to technology. So it's always fascinating to me, use cases in that domain and how we can actually digitize or tokenize an actual real world assets. When we think about crypto, we think about Bitcoin, Ether, no matter the coin that you talk about, those are all 100% digital, right? So you buy it digitally, you interact with it digitally. But now taking that and bringing something like that into the real world where you can actually tokenize an asset, very, very, yeah. I mean, as we start exploring that and going and moving in that direction, the use cases are going to be it's going to be crazy. It's going to be a really good thing to watch. So that's something that BNB Paribas is definitely looking into, and they're taking the steps. And like it's totally early, but wanted to kind of start to touch base on that. Okay, let me make sure there's no questions. If everybody who's joined, thanks for joining. Appreciate you guys. Whether you're on Instagram, whether you're on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitch, YouTube, appreciate the joins, appreciate the messages, the comments, everything. Little slight break to say that. Once again, today's episode is sponsored by Strategic Generation, providing cybersecurity services as well as SOC 2 services. Okay, let's get back into it. All right, so this is something I want to cover. No, it's fintech related, but cybersecurity related. And I like to throw in some cybersecurity stuff in each one of these shows. U.S. airport sites taking down in DDoS attack by pro-Russian hackers. Let's get into it. Then we're going to get into DDoS and different things of that nature. So what's been going on, right, this week? It's been a little bit crazy for airports, right? So a pro-Russian activist group called Killnet is claiming large-scale distributed denial of a service attacks against websites of several major airports in the U.S., making them inaccessible. So the actual airplane, right? It's not affected, but their website is. So if you want to get information from the website of what's going on, it's been down for consumables. So notable examples are that made the current websites unavailable. Hartsfield Jackson Atlanta International Airport, ATL, one of the country's larger traffic hubs. LAX, Los Angeles International Airport, it was intermittently offline or very slow. Chicago O'Hara International Airport, Orlando International Airport, Denver International Airport, Phoenix Sky Harbor International Airport, along with some in Kentucky, Mississippi, and Hawaii. They're relying on custom software to generate fake requests and garbage traffic directed at targets with the goal of depleting their resources and making them unavailable. So that's what's been happening this week. Let's get into it in terms of what is a distributed denial of a service attack. Let's talk about that, right? Because that's so. All right. So a denial of let's get into what a denial of service attack is, right? So that's basically a single internet connected device, right? The attacker will get control of through some sort of malware. They'll probably install that device, and then they'll overwhelm the victim from that particular device with a bunch of garbage requests. So that's one. Distributed denial service of attack is a little bit more insidious and powerful, right? It's launched concurrently from a large number of computers and servers and other internet connected devices. I think I have a picture right here to show you guys. So with the distributed denial of a service, you have to introduce a concept called botnets. So essentially, they get control of one. The attacker gets control of a server. We call that the control server. So obviously, he infects that, gets control of it. Then they introduce malware to botnets, and the botnets can be in the form of IoT connected devices, just various. It's basically computers. So essentially, a botnet is a group of infected computers under the control of an attacker. So if you made the analogy, I was going to do a Star Trek analogy, but can't think of one right now off the top of my head with Captain Kirk. But yeah, just imagine, right, with a distributed denial service attack. Imagine that. Oh, boom! I got it. I like this one. You're a fan of like Walking Dead and zombies. Imagine one. Oh, wait. I got it. There was this episode in The Walking Dead in which this group, I forget the name of the group, but anyway, they were controlling the zombies, right? The zombies are totally like brain dead. That's it. Anyway, this one group were controlling the zombies, and they had a way of getting the zombies to create a horde, right, and attack the victims, similar to what distributed denial of a service attack is doing. Instead, right, the attacker, the whole goal of a lot of these attackers, the ones that don't make themselves public, usually they don't want to be seen. They don't want to be known. They want to remain anonymous. So the best way to remain anonymous is they infect a command control service. This service probably has a little bit more power. Then from there, that control server, they send the controls to the botnets, the other infected computers, devices, something internet that's connected to the internet. And then those botnets then attack the victim and overwhelm the victim. So in this case, it's just basically, they do it a lot to like websites or different things like that. Not necessarily taking anything or extracting information. It's more so to overwhelm and just cause disruption. If you think about it, if you have a competitor, if you're a nation state, if you're you just want to cause, just basically bring things down for whatever political reasons. Those are some pretty good use cases there. So it's three steps. Obfuscation, which we just talked about. The attacker is able to conceal themselves from the victim. Amplification, by using compromised systems, the attacker can launch a larger attack. Geographical dispersion, the large botnet can span the globe, making for a massively distributed attack that is hard to mitigate. So it's coming from the botnets are totally distributed and become from different directions, but they're attacking the victim. In this case, the victims, right, were airport websites, bringing them down. So just wanted to kind of, touch base on the distributed denial of a service attack and so forth. So this slide right here, I have another slide, some known botnets that were around. So it was one called Mirai, a self-propagating botnet malware that takes over poorly protected internet-connected devices. It is capable of infecting tens of thousands of devices and coordinating them to overwhelm a chosen target. And another thing, they have DDoS as a service. So it's not really basically, you don't have to program. You could just basically leverage one of these DDoS as a service, pay them some money. It's cheaper sometimes. Price ranges. They say some tools on the market for as low as $5 US $5. So and then it could be leveraged to attack a particular website or situation. So another botnet, Cyclone, created in the U.S. This IRC-based DDoS malware kills other bots present in the infected host. Apart from stealing FTP credentials, it is used to orchestrate HTTP floods, Solaris attacks, Apache memory exhaustion attacks. Another botnet malware called Mr. Black, also referred to as Trojan Linux spike. The Mr. Black mainly targets Linux platform. It sends system information to the remote command and control server and executes control commands received to orchestrate different types of botnet DDoS attacks on a target. Another one called Pushdo. Though typically used for email spamming, this botnet was altered in 2010 to orchestrate DDoS attacks against major websites like PayPal, Twitter, CIA, FBI, and 300 others. It pushes Trojan components onto the targeted devices to run the Windows OS. So some examples of some botnet malware. Okay. So that concludes our show for today. Thank you guys for joining as usual. Remember, November 4th is our 100th episode. We're going to make that pretty big, really interesting discussion we have planned out in the works of compiling the guests that will be on that particular show. So start advertising for it. As always, when we have guests come on, we try to market and advertise the show topic and so forth. So you'll hear about that. And I think that's it. I don't see any comments or questions. So I'm gonna conclude today's episode. Guys, thanks for joining. If you're on I got a lot of people joining from Instagram, like that. So if you're on Instagram, if you're on LinkedIn, if you're on Twitch, if you're on YouTube, if you're on Facebook, really appreciate you joining today's episode. And thanks for the continued support. You know, we made it to we're not there yet, but we're close to 100 episodes. So that's huge for us. Started about 2 years ago, weekly shows, doing it live. A lot of man, it's been an interesting ride, and our goal is to just bring you more quality content moving forward. Have a couple of changes that are going to be made to the show, and we're working on right now, and to give you, the audience, a better product and experience. So we're really excited for that. And I think that's it. So listen, to all, have a phenomenal and spectacular weekend. And I will catch you next week, Friday, 12 p.m. EST, Tech Behind FinTech. And take care. Cheers.